What's going on, guys? Matt with Motorworks here, and in today's video it's just going to be a simple one because I'm kind of running out of parts to put on this bike. I'm waiting for parts to show up. I just threw this video together going over levers, mainly the eBay levers. Now I have them here. I kind of want to know your thoughts. I brought it up a little bit in the last video, but I'm going to kind of make a video about these. What do you guys think? Worth it? Is it worth the money to get these? I actually have a set on my YZF600R over here. I ran those on that for over a year now, and I haven't had any issues with them. They still work just like when I bought them. They're fully adjustable. All the adjustments still work. So I've had good success with them. Again, what do you guys think? Are they worth the money? I think that for $20, I mean, really, if they break, you just go out and buy another set, personally. I don't think they're going to fail. I mean, if you look at the construction of it, I don't think it's going to fail to a point where it will cause issue. But again, like I said, I don't know. We're going to see how they work. But we're going to actually install them on the bike today, and I can show you how to do that and kind of the little tips and tricks I have for when I install levers on a bike. And I'll take you guys along with me. Alright, now to remove the clutch side, there's just a bolt underneath, and the clutch side is the one that I'm actually wondering if it's going to work. The one I got looks a little different, so we'll see. Now the clutch side is just a 10mm underneath. I might need pop that pin out. And the clutch side should a little bit bent. Take that out of there, and then pop this out here. There we are. So yeah, there's this little bushing right here. I'm gonna have to tap that out and transfer that to the new lever. All right, so here's what I'm talking about here. If you look at the clutch, the new one has this huge opening here. The old one also, once I take this bushing out, there's a brass insert here that will sit inside the new lever. Probably take a little bit of convincing, but that will slide in there. And then that's where that's how that new one will work. And if you notice, it's just a little bit narrower, but since it has this bushing, not too worried about that. That'll give it its proper spacing. If you're fanatical, you can probably get something to take up that gap. I'm not too concerned with it. I think it'll work just fine. But that's the old versus the new. So not exact match. Everything else seems to look correct on there. They give you enough of a tab for the clutch safety switch. So, I mean, if that's something that's a deal breaker, then sorry about that, but it is what it is. Again, it was $20, so you get what you pay for, right? Now, since this is brass, we don't really have to put a crazy amount of grease on there. Really, you could probably get away with just putting a little bit of anti-seize on the bolt, and that should be perfectly fine. And then all that'll do is keep that stuff from fusing together like the brake side has done, it looks like. Well, I found O-rings to put around there. It's not a permanent solution, but for now it'll work. If I find something, I know what O-ring I used. Here, I know which O-ring I used, so I should be good. I can just match it up to whatever size O-ring that is. Figure something plastic, but for now, O-rings will work. We'll put this back on and see how that feels. One other thing I'm going to do before I actually put this back together is I'm going to lube the clutch cable. I don't think this has ever been done on this bike. Basically, lubing your cable is going to make the clutch engagement a lot smoother, a lot easier. Now what I'm doing is taking this cable luber, it's aptly called a cable luber because that's exactly what it's used for, clamps around the cable. There's a little hole here, and that hole fits the straw on the cable lube, and all it does, you spray in there and it should lube the entire cable. Just spray that till you hear it or see it come out at the bottom. You can't really see it. I can hear it more than I can see it, but basically it will spray cable lube down to where the cable comes to the cable actuator, and I can hear it. I don't know if you could hear it on the camera, but I could hear it when I was spraying it. So this cable is now lubed, and we can reassemble that lever. I'm going to first insert the cable end in, and then I will fish the lever in there, make sure that that's in. Then we'll put the bolt just temporarily in there, and we'll reattach the lever. And we're going to see here if this is easy. Usually this part's a pain in the butt. There we go. So we got our new lever. Now we'll just tighten our bolt back down. Go overboard when tightening. That way the cable and that way the clutch lever and everything moves nice and freely. That feels good. Need to adjust our cable a little bit there. Not a lot. It's not that far out of adjustment, so definitely need to get a new one of these adjuster bolts because this one is pretty bent. And by pretty bent, I mean really bent. Call that good because it doesn't move anymore. So have that there. We can adjust this lever in, or we can adjust it out wherever we'd like to. Probably have it in there for now, but that's the clutch side done. Hopefully the brake side now wants to cooperate, but we'll see. So that's the clutch side done there. Pretty simple install. Feels nice and solid once it's in there. Again, the only place it's going to be loose is when the clutch is squeezed all the way in. That's when you'll get a little free play there, but overall it doesn't feel too bad. That fit pretty nicely, so looks like the switch is going to work. All that stuff is lined up good. So that's clutch. Pretty simple install. We'll just have to see how it works. Now, as far as tools needed, it's just going to be a flathead screwdriver, and I believe there's a 10mm nut on the bottom of this. So just a flathead here. I like to use a pretty large flathead there. That way it doesn't strip that screw out. You don't want to use a small one because it can gouge the bolt out. Sometimes you need a good grip on that bolt head, so that's why I use the larger one on these. Then you just want to loosen the nut on the bottom, and that should just, once you have that out, should just be able to loosen the top bolt. But I think this is where my problem is, and I think this bolt is going to be a bit of a struggle to get out. Alright, now that I'm all sweaty and this is taking way longer than it should, I'll kind of explain to you what's going on. So the bolt is actually stuck inside the lever, and what's going on, if you can see, I don't know if you can see in there, but there's an insert that goes inside the lever. It's a brass insert. It's not the same insert that's on the clutch side, but it is an insert, and what happened is this bolt has seized itself to the insert, so when I go to loosen the bolt, it's trying to turn out the insert as well as the bolt at the same time, and that insert is larger than the hole the bolt threads into, so it's not going to bring that out. So what's actually happening is it's stripping out the threads on the other side of this. Nothing's ever easy. So what I'm going to do to fix it is I pulled the master cylinder off, and I'm going to actually cut the lever off. I verified that the lever I got will fit, so if you come to this conclusion and you decide you're going to cut the lever off, just make sure that that new lever is going to fit. Everything matches up, everything looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and I'll show you what was going on in there. Alright, so we did get it out. Got pretty hacked up. Check it out there. We had to cut quite a bit away from there to get that out. But as you can see, shows on this side a little better. As you can see, the insert in there and then that bolt inside the insert, those two kind of fused together. So wouldn't unthread. Sometimes that's part of it, but we cut that off. We already have that new lever in there. Looks like it's going to work good. So we will reinstall our master cylinder on there. We're going to have to re-bleed the brakes, but wanted to bleed the brakes anyway. Alright, so after all that grinding and cutting and taking all that stuff apart and trying to make it work, I did make it work. I was successful in getting that lever on. It's just I couldn't get the brakes to then bleed up, so it wasn't for nothing, because I'll get a rebuild kit and I'll get this correct, but because I had a time crunch, I ended up just going with a different style master cylinder that I had lying around. This is a radial master cylinder. It's off of a CBR 1000. Now I may end up keeping that lever because it is a better brake setup. So what may end up happening is I just get a lever for this and some steel braided brake lines, because the lines don't quite fit. I mean, they work, but they're kind of bent at a harsh angle. So if I just get a set of steel braided lines, I can get them kind of custom made for the bike so that they fit the bike. That's probably what I'm going to do, because these brake lines themselves are old anyway. But that's all going to be in the future. They work for now. I have to get this thing on the racetrack, so that's what I came up with on short notice. Everything works. We'll just see how it performs out on the track.